Hey everybody, today I'm going to be talking about starting to paint in oils. I know it can be a daunting prospect, but we're going to break it down, make it very simple. So in the film we're going to be talking about paint, brushes, canvas, mediums and palettes.
I know someday we could finally be. I know someday we could finally be.
Okay, so it's really tempting when you get a catalogue like this to buy loads and loads of colours. You know, that's understandable because I want to buy loads and loads of colours when I see these things, but it really isn't necessary. If you cut your palette down, first of all, you learn to use your colours better, and the expense can be enormous buying a load of stuff, so that keeps the price down. And the other thing is, just on a practical level, you know, when you're painting outside and you're rootling around in your bag to find lemon yellow or whatever it is, you can't find it because there's 100 other tubes in there. So, what colours would I recommend you buy to start with? Titanium white, a really good opaque white. Lemon yellow, nice cool yellow. Cadmium yellow. Cadmium orange, really unctuous, lovely colour. Cadmium red, warm red. Alizarin crimson, cool red. French ultramarine, a really lovely warm blue. Cobalt blue, cool blue, skies, that kind of thing. Once you've got these colours sorted, it might be wise to add a couple of earth colours and black. So yellow ochre, burnt umber and black. What about green? Mix your own, yellow and blue, it's easy. So paints are essentially a pigment suspended in a medium. In the case of watercolour, the medium is gum arabic, which is water soluble. Hence watercolour. Acrylic also water soluble, but of course oil, the medium tends to be linseed oil. They use other oils as well, so that means you need a different solvent. I use pure turpentine. There are some mediums that you can buy, some odor-free, yeah, some odor-free solvents that you could buy. You get those through the supplier that you get your paint from. As with everything else, prices vary enormously on paint tubes, so you can buy budget paints and you can spend really quite a lot of money on. And also sizes of tubes, that's a normal tube, what's that, 37 millilitres. That's kind of where I would recommend that you start. I mean, I tend to get larger tubes like that, that's 225 mil, but you know, I make big pictures and it's not really necessary when you're first starting out. The difference between the cheaper paints and the more expensive ones is the amount of pigment in the paint. You get what you pay for, you know, so if you're using a pigment heavy paint, it's going to last you a lot longer because you're going to use less of it. Buy the best that you can afford. So in the early days of oil painting, if you wanted to stop your paints drying out, you had to put them inside a pig's bladder. Now, that's not the most convenient way to store your paint, is it? Particularly if you've forgotten to take the bladder out of the pig. I can imagine if you were using a lot of colours, that's a hell of a lot of pigs running around the place. So, mid-19th century, 1841, John Gough Rand, the portrait painter, no, I'd never heard of him either, but genius, came up with a collapsible tin. Well, we'd know that as the tube. And that revolutionised oil painting, because now it means that you can not only keep your paints from drying out, but you can take them outside, they're convenient. That's exactly what happened. So if you look at the history of art at that period, that's pretty much when Impressionism came to the fore. And Impressionism, of course, based on plein air painting, going outside, they would carry tubes with them. Much easier, I think you'll agree, than having a whole herd of pigs running around after you. Probably kept them on a lead to keep them close, I should think. Right, brushes. And we're back to the livestock again, because these oil painting brushes, they're largely made of hog hair, pig's hair. They're much less expensive than watercolour brushes made of sable, Kolinsky sable sometimes, the top quality ones, and they can be way over 100 quid a pop. These 5, 10, that kind of figure. Here I've got a number 2, a number 6, a number 8 and a number 10. If you were to buy these brushes now, all 4 of them would come in for less than 20 quid. So it's not like you're going to be spending fortunes on brushes, and they last you ages. So you can also get synthetic brushes, but well, that's plastic, and you know, we don't really want too much plastic in the world, do we? The other thing is that I don't really like the marks that they make. There's something kind of uniform about the mark that isn't as organic as the hog brushes, so you can keep them. They're not particularly cheap. They're probably about the same price as a hog brush in any case, so no need to spend loads of money on those. For priming, we'll talk about priming and canvases shortly. You can use decorating brushes, they're absolutely fine, and even sometimes for painting I use them. See, that's a 2-inch brush. It's really cheap. They lose bristles. I quite like the way they go ragged at the end. It gives a really soft mark. There we go, it's just because I'm a cheapskate. Okay, so now that you've got your brushes and you've got your paint, you're going to need a surface to paint on, and the surface is going to have to be primed. Now, don't let that worry you. It's a very simple process. You're going to need some primer, and it comes in tubs like these. This is a black primer and this one's white. They're generally white. It says white acrylic gesso on it. That's your primer. Even though it says acrylic, that's absolutely fine for oil paints. You can use it for either acrylic or oil paints and it's fine. The nice thing is that it dries fairly quickly. So oil primers tend to take a lot longer to dry. So you need a surface. You could prime paper, you can prime board. So you could go to your local wood merchants and get them to cut up some MDF, something like that, fairly light, and you know, whatever sizes you want. So it's quite cheap. This is just a prime piece of MDF that I could use. There are also these are really cheap. It's just a canvas board. You can buy them at places like The Works, those kind of places, and they're pence really, so nothing, and they're already primed. Canvases you can buy from the same places like this, all kinds of sizes. This one was £4, so you can see they're not a lot of money. They may need some primer on, actually. They're usually very badly primed, so it might be worth putting a coat of primer on just to be safe. What happens is, if things are badly primed or totally unprimed, oil gets drawn out of the paint too quickly, and over time it'll dry off and flake, and also it loses some of the brightness, some of the luster that's with it, because the oil's sucked out of it too quickly. So prime everything. Boards and canvases, I'd prime them twice. Okay, so that's 2 coats, and leave that for a couple of hours in a warm room to dry, and you've got a surface to paint on, you know. So it really is that easy. Canvases you can stretch yourself. You buy stretcher bars and stretch the canvas. Canvas you can buy from your arts materials supplier. So this is the canvas I buy. This is 12-ounce cotton duck. And the reason I like it is that it's got a really nice tooth to it, so it pulls the paint off the brush nicely, and for a big canvas it's really strong. I go to a company in Bradford. They're a textile importer, so I buy from there, but then I buy in bulk, so it's a lot cheaper that way. But, you know, shop around, have a look at the prices that are available and see what you can find. As I've shown, you can work on a piece of board, and that's perfectly acceptable. I do it a lot of the time, and then you can work onto it with whatever materials you want: oils, acrylics, crayon, pencil, charcoal, whatever you want to do. Okay, so now we've got all that sorted out, you're going to need a space to work. Now, of course, I'm very lucky because I've got this large studio, but then I do this for a living, and I teach in here too, so I need quite a lot of space. Also, I work on big paintings. It's likely you're going to be working from home, so a spare bedroom is great, possibly a converted garage, something like that. Even if you're working on the kitchen table, you can still work with oils. Chuck all the washing up in the sink, lay out some newspaper on the kitchen table, and away you go. I'll put a link up about materials below, and if there's anything that you feel that I've skipped over or that you want to know more about, any questions you might have about painting in oils, put them in the comments below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. I hope it was useful for you. Click the thumbs up if you would, and maybe subscribe to my channel, that'd be great, and I'll see you in the next video.